Welcome to the Purposely Aligned Entrepreneur Podcast presented by Boss Girl Creative. This is episode number 430. Today I'm talking about following your path. Now let's dive in. Have you already found business success but feel lonely at the top? Or do you feel like you're at a place in your business where others just don't get it? Or maybe you feel like you have to make yourself smaller in order for others to not feel less than. Or maybe just a little bit of all three. But with all that said, there is good news because I've been there and I see you, sister. I'm Taylor Bradford, the torchbearer of this podcast and sisterhood, and I'm here to lead and inspire you to stay purposely aligned in the success you have found and provide you with support, guidance, and a sisterhood to keep going. Because I do get it. Your business journey isn't meant to be traveled alone. So grab a notebook, your favorite pen, and a bevy, and let's dive into this together with this latest podcast episode. Welcome to the Purposely Aligned Entrepreneur Podcast presented by Boss Girl Creative and me. Hello, welcome to episode number 430. I am your host, Taylor Bradford. I so appreciate you being here, pressing play. If you're a brand new listener to the show, welcome. And if you're an OG, I so appreciate you coming back each week and hitting play. Today, I'm talking about following your path and kind of what that means and how it can help you with purpose and intention, which is how I feel we should be living our lives and running our businesses. I feel like that is the foundation of what it is that we do day in and day out with living with intention, living with purpose, running our businesses with intention and with purpose. Before I dive in, let's get to this week's social media headlines. Social media headline number 1, Instagram is testing 3-minute and 10-minute Reels uploads. Now, they are testing this internally, but we may be seeing longer short-form content appearing in Instagram via Reels. Social media headline number 2, X adds streamlined reply option for DMs and shares details of coming audio and video calls. X, formerly known as Twitter, is looking to make DMs a bigger factor, leaning into a broader social media engagement trend. Social media headline number 3, back with X. They are testing a new option that would enable creators to gather email contacts from their subscribers, a key element in X's evolving creator push. And that wraps up this week's social media headlines. So let's dive in to this week's episode, which is all about following your path. And what does that actually mean? I just mean continuing on the journey you are currently on and seeing where the road takes you. Now, obviously, you're going to have unexpected twists and turns. That is life. You will meet resistance, and resistance will try to change your path. It will try to turn you away from your path. But as long as you feel in your heart of hearts that this is your path, then you keep pushing forward. Because perseverance can lead to epic growth. But you got to be willing to embrace change. You have to be willing to embrace what you are called to be on this earth to do. Sometimes that's easier said than done, obviously. If it were easy, we would all be doing it. But I don't want you to allow other people's ideas and expectations to get in between you and your path. Societal norms do not and should not dictate your path. And I'm just going to put this out there. I don't know if this is you or not. I pray it is not. But you do not need to be living a life where you are unhappy, where you are unhappy at work, where you are unhappy just in life. No one should be walking a path that brings them unhappiness on purpose. You know, life happens and we don't have control of those things that pop up. But if you are showing up every day to a job that is not nurturing to you in any way whatsoever, then I need you to make a pivot. Because life is too short to live a life that is not aligned with who you are and who you want to be. Now, if you're new to the show, you might not have heard my story. If you've been a long-time listener, you may have heard this story. But I'm going to tell you why following your path really matters. So, I moved to Texas when I was going to TCU, and that was 99, fall of 99, and I knew I didn't want a repeat of high school, so I moved to Texas. I'm from Arkansas originally. Moved to Texas, went to school. Graduated with kinesiology degree and a minor in business. Had no clue truly what I wanted to do. And it was just following a path that seemed to be a template. And that is not a path any of us should be taking, a template path. But sometimes you need those bumpers, kind of like in bowling, you need those bumpers to help you get somewhere until you realize what you're meant to be doing. So I'm out of college, I don't have a job, I'm trying to find a job, and I have a degree. I have a degree that is not worth the paper it's written on. And it's really devastating because you go to school, you spend a lot of money, and then you're like, now what? And I was already personal training at that time. I started personal training in 2001, so my sophomore year, second semester sophomore year, I started personal training. I got certified, and I started at a gym. While I was in college, I became a personal trainer and was able to, as I was going through my degree, I was able to legitimately take what I was learning and immediately implement it. And that is something that I feel like a lot of us miss out on, is the implementation. Because doing and learning are one thing, but implementing and taking action are a whole nother ballgame. Without it, we don't know what we're made of. And that is an important step that I think a lot of people miss out on. When I was in college, I had to go do an internship that wasn't paid, and I went and shadowed a physical therapist. And I was like, whoa, Nelly, I do not want to do this. Like, I was pre-physical therapy at the time. It was smart for me to have that kind of an internship. And I was like, I absolutely don't want to do this. This does not sound like my cup of tea. So I really focused in on athletic training at that time. I didn't know much about personal training. And I just had a really rough go with athletic training. I had a rough go because all I really cared about was football. Football runs through my blood. I don't understand it, but I love the sport so much. I don't necessarily pay attention to players per se, but I love football. I can watch any game on television and be drawn in. I don't care who's playing. Obviously, I'm going to root for the teams that I, support. TCU one, Arkansas Razorbacks another, and because of my husband, the Texas A&M Aggies. So football, I love football. I love college football. I love pro football. I love football. And I'm in the best 4 months of my year are September, October, November, December. This is the BER months. These are my months. This is where I come to life. And it's not like I was walking zombie, in the other months of the year, but these are my months. This is my glory time. Anyways, football means a lot to me. I don't know why. It just does. And so as a freshman in college, as an athletic trainer, I got to work with the football team. That is where you are basically shadowed by your upper level athletic trainers and your team athletic trainers. That's where you're getting the most attention and where you're learning all of the basics. Your sophomore year, you get assigned another sport. Your junior year, you get assigned another sport. Your senior year, you come back to football. And really all I cared about was football. I didn't really care about any other sport, but I knew if I was going to sit for the national test for athletic training, that I was going to need to understand all kinds of different injuries, because that's what athletic trainers do. They help you work through injuries. So football was where it was at. My sophomore year, I was in swimming and diving, and I loved the swimmers. I loved the divers, but it was a 2-a-day year-round sport. No kidding, I had to be at the pool at 5:30 every morning, 5 days a week, plus workouts on the weekend, and back at the pool by 3 o'clock. 2-a-days, year-round, with travel. We traveled all over my sophomore year. I still managed to maintain my grades, and I think I graduated with a 3.85 from school. Anyways, that was a rough year for me. Lots of travel, your sophomore year, and I was supposed to be learning from the grad assistant who was over swimming and diving and also volleyball. But he was never around, and so I wasn't learning. And I felt when it came time at the end of the year where I had to test out on some proficiencies that I couldn't, that I was already behind because this grad assistant was never to be found. And swimmers don't get hurt in the water per se. They mostly get hurt with land exercise. It's mind-boggling. But when they do get hurt in the pool, you don't see it. They have to get out of the pool and tell you they're hurt. It's not like football where you actually watch a collision and see the accident occur, see the injury occur. Swimming is very silent when an injury pops up. And most of swimmers have overuse injuries because they're overusing their limbs to swim. My junior year, they tried to offset my negative experience my sophomore year, and I got to work, well, I thought I was getting to work with the Fort Worth Dallas Ballet. And that was going to be a dream. But the ballet dancers didn't get hurt that year. Not that I wish anybody to get hurt, but I was stationed at a physical therapy clinic where the dancers would come in for sports medicine and treatments, but they didn't get hurt. So I shadowed physical therapists again and worked a lot of workers' comp, worked a lot of paraplegic, quadriplegic, nothing sports related. And that's what I was supposed to be learning. So I just really felt, like when you're on this path and you're like, this just doesn't feel like I'm on the right path. Like this is not leading. This is challenging in a way that's not interesting. It's not pushing me to be better. It's not pushing me to want to do this. It's actually setting me up to fail. And who wants to fail? Nobody wants to fail. So I went to my advisor. That was my junior year. I went to my advisor and I was like, what in the world do I do with this degree? And he was like, you know what? I think you'd be really great at personal training. I realize that's not what you've done up to date, but we can just adjust your degree into the health and fitness realm instead of pre-physical therapy, and you should be able to graduate still on time. So I looked at everything and I was like, yes, this is what I'm going to do. I picked up a business minor. I still graduated in 4 years. I think I took 2 semesters of summer, 2 classes in a May mini-mester, and was able to graduate in the 4 years. But I knew in my heart of hearts that I was not walking a pathway that was meant for me. And the challenges that I was experiencing and the challenges that I was being faced with were just setting me further up to fail. And that is not a pleasant feeling. And I wasn't happy. I wasn't in it to win it. And so that pivot was really mind shifting for me. And it allowed me to, while I was still in school, it allowed me to continue to learn in my degree. But then as I was becoming a personal trainer, it allowed me to, tackle and implement and take action. And that's what helped it stick. The implementation and the action. And that is why I am such a stickler for both of these things to happen when you work with me one-on-one. It is why I have the VIP back pocket coaching days, is all one-on-one, but it's through Voxer app. It's a walkie-talkie app, and we get to chat with each other across 12 hours because I do want you to implement. I do want you to take action because that's the piece that is missing for everybody. I'm not kidding when I say that everybody I've ever worked with one-on-one has failed to take action or implement, or they'll take some action over what we've discussed, but will fail to continue to take action. And that's, I don't have like the right words to say it's not necessarily them. It's just the overwhelm became more overwhelmed because of what I was suggesting they do. And when you're not ready for that big leap, then you fall back into your routines, you fall back on what's easy, and you don't implement and you don't take action. And it's nothing against anybody that I've ever worked with. I love working with people, but that is why I've shifted into the VIP back pocket coaching days, is so that you can actually implement. You can take action as we're working through whatever hurdle that we need to help you work through, or that I need to help you work through. So here I am, personal training. I'm still in college. I haven't graduated yet. I finally graduate, and I decide that the facility I was working for was not a good fit anymore. It was heavy on the sales, and I'm not a hardcore salesperson to somebody else's quotas. And so I was training a lady at the time, and she was like, hey, why don't you come work for us and you can still train me? They were in construction of all things. It was kind of like a preview for me and what we do now, but I didn't know that at the time. And so that worked for a little bit, but the family was not all there. And that was hard, working for a family business where it was the husband and the wife, and they had employees. And anyways, long story, that didn't end well for me. And then I didn't have a job because I stood my ground, and I was not okay with them robbing Peter to pay Paul, and for me cooking books when I wasn't even a bookkeeper to begin with. Anyways, long story. So here I am, graduated college, I have no job, and I can't get a job to save my life. And I have this degree, I have this national certification as a personal trainer, and I'm like, oh man, what do I do? Happened to be going to this church at the time, and the minister knew I was on the job hunt. He was like, hey, I happen to be looking at this hospital in Dallas where I go to see my cardiologist, and I happened to land on their job postings and see they're hiring a personal trainer. Why don't you apply? That night I applied, and I don't know how quickly the interview process happened, but I had my first phone interview with the head trainer, and then I had an in-person interview. That went well, and then they scheduled a third interview, which was with the fitness director. And oh my gosh, that fitness director had the same mindset as the gym I had worked at. And I was like, whoa, this won't be a good fit if this is how this works. I can sell personal training, but not to your quota and not to your methods, because this is used car sales tactics. And I can say that having owned a used car lot before. Yes, I never thought that would be on my radar either, but here we are. So he asks me, sell me this cell phone. And he pushes it across the table to me. And I look at the phone. I've never seen this type of phone before. And y'all, back then, we were still with the flip phones. So I didn't even know how to open this phone. Maybe I had like one of them little mini Nokias. I don't remember. Anyways, I thought this thing looked like a spaceship. I didn't know how to open it. I didn't know how to work it. So how in the world am I going to sell it? I would literally be making stuff up, and you can't sell that way. That is not intentional selling. That is not being able to sell through your heart and your soul. So I pushed it back across the table and I said, I'm not selling that to you. And he kind of looked at me, and I know that was not what he thought I was going to say. But I was like, you know what? I am going to take a stand here because I don't know anything about the cell phone. How can I effectively sell this? This is not a game to me. This is my whole life sitting here on the table. And I don't know how to sell it because I don't know what it is or anything about it. And I said, I'm not going to sell you this cell phone. But what I will do is sell you health. I will sell you personal training. And I just launched into why it matters, why health matters, why your fitness level matters. And because that was natural. That was easy for me because I believe in it. I still believe in it, even though I no longer wear that hat. Your health, your self-care, that's why it's one of my pillars. It matters. It matters more than you can ever imagine. And that was an easy sell for me. And I know I did not make friends with him. He had a problem with me the entire time he was in that position. But thankfully, the fitness head trainer dude saw potential in me and wanted what I could offer. And so I took on a role as a personal trainer, and I was there at that facility for 6 years. I ended up following that fitness head trainer to the next location. He was building a boutique facility with a neurosurgeon, and that would have lasted a lot longer had the neurosurgeon been upfront and honest about her position in their 2-person company. And so that actually fell apart before it really even got started, which was heartbreaking for me because I brought all of my clients from the fitness center of 6 years to that boutique facility, and then there was no boutique facility. I think it managed on for a little bit longer, but I was like, I'm here because of him, and now he's not going to be here. And thankfully at that time, we already had the car lot going, and I was already dabbling in oil and gas at the time. So I had fallbacks. It was truly heartbreaking for me though, because I was good at that. I was so good at that, but I was not at the fitness facility before I left. I was not getting the respect. I was not getting the dollars to back the programming that I had created that was very successful, and it was backed by science. And that was frustrating, hit a glass ceiling and you can't break through it because you're not being supported. And so I feel every single one of you listening, if you've ever been in that position, you have to do something drastic for yourself to shake your life up, because you can't keep treading on the staircase upwards and keep hitting that ceiling. Like, there's no way around the ceiling when you're not supported. So you've got to create your own path, which is why it's important to follow your path. And the whole purpose of talking about this episode, I happened to see Susie Holman has launched a new podcast. She just had one of my favorite humans, Sharon McMahon from Sharon Says So. I'm a part of Sharon's book club. It's a great environment to get more one-on-one time with her, like through Instagram, not necessarily like one-on-one, but it allows you a curtain pull back to really get to know who Sharon is and to read some incredible books. But she was talking about following your path and how she was a history teacher, and now she's dubbed America's history teacher, America's government teacher, and she's been put into this role. She's been lifted up onto this pedestal, and she's the perfect person for it. And she's got the best platform. And she really is so true. And it just inspired me to just talk about following your path. And this path that I'm talking about is just one of my paths. I continue to pivot and follow my path, which has led me to Sugar Creek and has led me into Smitty's General Contractors. It has led me to where I'm supposed to be, because you are exactly where you're meant to be right now in this moment, through trials, through tribulations, through unexpected twists and turns, through whatever resistance you have met, but you've persevered, you've not given up, and you've embraced change as it's come your way. And that is what it means to follow your path. I would not be here had the dominoes not fallen as they fell, because I did continue to follow my path, not a path laid out by society. Society tells you should be married by your 24, 25, you should have kids between 26 and 28, and then, on your merry way. I've not ever had an urging to be a parent. I blame babysitting triplets when I was really, really young for that. And I've just never had any maternal urgings. My mother-in-law wishes that I would have had kids. I can't tell you how many times I have been personally pressured by that template of life. I don't want kids. Do I, babysit them and have fun with other people's kids? Absolutely. But I want to give them back at the end of the day or at the end of our time together, because I don't want that for my life. And it's okay for me to not want that for my life. It's okay for you to not want whatever society is deeming up for you on a silver platter, because it's the template. It's not your template. You need to just kindly say no thank you and keep forging down your path. Life is too short to live a life that is not aligned with who you are and who you want to be. So follow your path. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you have yet to rate and review my show through Apple Podcasts, I would so appreciate you doing that. It just helps me. And until next time, I hope you have a great rest of this week. Oh, wait, before I go, thank you truly for your support of my own business journey and this podcast, The Purposely Aligned Entrepreneur. If you know another entrepreneur who is in the same business trenches, who has already found success but might be feeling a bit lonely in their journey, my hope is that you'll share this podcast and this sisterhood with them. Because this, what we do day in and day out, isn't meant to be done alone. Speaking of lonely, if you're ready to squash the business journey loneliness, stop what you're doing right now and join the sisterhood. Visit bossgirlcreative.com/sisterhood. I can't wait to see you in there.